Upstate New York, with its lush landscapes and historical charm, might seem like an ideal place to live. However, despite its beauty, some areas of upstate New York have surprisingly few residents. Various factors contribute to this lower population density, making it less appealing for some people to settle there. In this video, we are going to discuss 10 reasons why nobody lives in upstate New York. Economic challenges. Upstate New York used to have a lot of factories where many people worked. These factories made things like clothes and parts for machines. But over time, these factories started to close because it became cheaper to make these things in other countries where they didn't have to pay workers as much money. When the factories closed, a lot of people lost their jobs because there weren't as many places to work. This made it hard for many families to earn enough money. Because there were fewer jobs, fewer people wanted to live there, so some towns didn't have as many people anymore. This also meant there was less money for things like schools and parks because the towns were getting less money from taxes, which are the money that businesses and people pay to the government to help run the place where they live. This situation made it tough for these towns to grow or attract new people. Harsh winters. Upstate New York is known for having really cold and snowy winters. During the winter months, it can snow a lot, sometimes so much that it covers cars and blocks roads. This makes it hard for people to get around, go to work, or school. The cold can be very harsh too, with temperatures dropping very low, making it uncomfortable to be outside for long periods. This kind of weather can be tough to handle for people who aren't used to it. Heating homes in such cold weather can also cost a lot of money, which can be difficult for some families. Because of these challenges, some people prefer to live in places where the weather is milder and not so extreme. The severe winter weather also means that people have to spend more money on things like snow tires for their cars and extra clothing to stay warm, which can add up and be expensive. Limited job opportunities. In upstate New York, there are fewer jobs available now than there used to be, especially the kinds of jobs where people make or build things. Many businesses that used to be there have either closed down or moved somewhere else where it costs less to make their products. This means there are not as many places for people to work. Because there aren't a lot of new jobs being created, people, especially young adults, often decide to move to bigger cities where there are more job opportunities. In big cities, they can find different types of jobs in places like offices, stores, and restaurants. With fewer people wanting to stay or move to upstate New York because of the job situation, some towns don't have as many residents as before. This makes it harder for these towns to grow and become lively places with lots of activities and opportunities. So the lack of job opportunities is a big reason why not many people live in certain parts of upstate New York. Urban flight. In upstate New York, many young people decide to move away, especially to bigger cities. This happens because bigger cities often have more things that attract young people, like more job choices, universities, and fun activities like concerts and sports events. When young people leave their hometowns in upstate New York, they're looking for places where they can find better jobs and enjoy a busy city life. These cities also often have more people their age, which makes socializing and making friends easier. As more and more young people move away, the towns they leave behind have fewer young residents. This change makes these towns quieter and sometimes makes it harder for local businesses like shops and restaurants to do well because there are fewer people visiting them. This movement of young people to larger cities is called urban flight, and it means that many towns in upstate New York become places where mostly older people live, and this can make these towns seem less lively. Transportation inconveniences. In upstate New York, getting around can be tough if you don't have a car. This is because there aren't as many buses or trains as you might find in a big city. In some rural areas, public transportation is very limited or sometimes not available at all. This means that people need to drive their own cars to go to work, school, or even just to shop for groceries. If someone doesn't have a car, it can be really hard to do everyday things like getting to the doctor or visiting friends. This makes living in these areas less convenient for some people, especially if they can't afford a car. Also, the roads and bridges in some parts of upstate New York need repair and aren't always in good shape. This can make driving dangerous or slow, and fixing them can take a long time and cost a lot of money. Because of these transportation problems, some people choose to live in places where it's easier to get around without needing a car all the time. Higher taxes. In upstate New York, people often have to pay a lot of money in taxes, especially property taxes. Property taxes are the money that homeowners pay to help fund things like schools, roads, and police in their area. New York State is known for having some of the highest property taxes in the whole country. When taxes are very high, it can be hard for families to afford them, especially if they don't earn a lot of money. High taxes can also make it difficult for people to buy homes because they have to pay more money every year on top of their regular house payments. Because of these high taxes, some people and businesses decide not to move to or stay in upstate New York. They might choose to live in places where the taxes are lower so they can save money. This is one reason why some areas in upstate New York don't have a lot of people living in them. Educational opportunities. In upstate New York, some people find it hard to get to good schools or places where they can learn special skills for jobs. Bigger cities often have more colleges and training centers, and these places offer lots of different classes and programs that can help people get good jobs in the future. In rural or smaller areas of upstate New York, there might not be as many choices for schools or special training programs. This can make it hard for people who live there to learn new things or improve their skills without traveling far away or even moving to a new place. Because having good education and training opportunities nearby is important for families and young people, the lack of these options in some parts of upstate New York can make those areas less appealing to live in. People might decide to move to where they can go to better schools or find better job training, which means fewer people end up living in these less populated areas. Healthcare access. In upstate New York, especially in the more rural and remote areas, it can be tough to find good healthcare. This means there might not be many hospitals or doctors nearby, and the ones that are there might not offer all the services that people might need. For example, if someone has a special health problem, they might have to travel a long way to see a doctor who can help them. This can be a big problem, especially for families with kids or older people who often need to see doctors. If it's hard to get to a doctor quickly, it can be scary when someone gets sick or hurt. Because having good healthcare close to home is very important to a lot of people. The lack of medical services in some parts of upstate New York makes these places less attractive to live in. People often choose to move to or stay in areas where they can get to a doctor easily and quickly if they need to. Cultural attractions. In upstate New York, some areas don't have as many fun things to do compared to big cities. Big cities often have lots of museums, theaters, and restaurants where people can enjoy different kinds of food and watch plays or movies. These places also host concerts where you can see musicians perform live. In contrast, smaller towns in upstate New York might not have these kinds of attractions. This means there are fewer places to go for entertainment, like seeing a new movie or visiting an interesting museum. For people who like to have a lot of activities to choose from, this can make living in these smaller towns less exciting, because having fun things to do is important for many people, especially families with children. The lack of cultural attractions can make some areas of upstate New York less appealing to live in. This is one reason why fewer people might choose to live in these areas, especially if they enjoy a lively and active lifestyle. Real estate market. In some parts of upstate New York, the real estate market is not very active. This means that not many new houses are being built and not many people are buying homes there. When there aren't new homes being built, it can make a place look less exciting or like it's not growing. This can make fewer people want to move there. Also, if houses are not being sold or bought much, the prices of homes can stay the same for a long time or even go down. This isn't good for people who already own homes there, because if they want to sell their house, they might not get as much money for it. Because having a lively real estate market can make a place feel more vibrant and growing, the lack of this activity in some areas of upstate New York makes these places less attractive to new people. This is why some parts of upstate New York have fewer people living in them. So this was all about today's video. Do let us know your thoughts and comments. Please subscribe to Travel the World. Thank you for watching.